Hello and welcome back to the Coffee Buzz. I'm glad you're here. This is that small pause in your day. A few minutes to slow down, breathe, and sit with a verse from the Tao Te Ching. No program to follow, no productivity hack. Just some space to think. So pour yourself some coffee, find a chair, because today we're going to do something a little bit different. Most of the Tao Te Ching consist of authoritative declarations, the kind of deep, still thing you'd expect from a very old man who decided to write it all down, what he understood about the universe before riding his ox out of town for the last time. But verse 10 is something else. Verse 10 is a list of questions, 6 of them, and they don't have the tone of a teacher quizzing a student. They have the tone of someone asking themselves out loud in the dark before the sun comes up. And the question that repeats is, can you? 6 times. And then a final line that tells you what it looks like when the answer is yes. Let's read it. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. Let's take that first question. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? I think Lao Tzu leads with it because it's the root of everything else. If you can't do this one, if you can't bring the mind home, even briefly, then the other 5 are just philosophy. But if you can do this one, even imperfectly, the rest stands to become possible. So, the wandering mind, you know it, maybe this morning before you were fully awake, that low murmur already starting up, the list, the worry, the replay of yesterday, and probably the preview of tomorrow. It runs almost constantly, mostly running the same loops. Lao Tzu just notices it and asks, can you coax it home? Not force, not command. The word is coax. That's important. The wandering mind doesn't respond well to force. You sit down just to be quiet for 5 minutes, and the mind starts doing exactly the thing you asked it not to. Coaxing is patient. It's gentle. It's the kind of returning that doesn't punish itself for having wandered. You notice you've drifted and you come back without drama, without the editorial, just wandered and returning. That's the whole practice. Not the dramatic enlightenment, just the 10,000th return. And the destination he names is the original oneness. Not an idea, something prior to thought, the ground underneath the noise, the quiet that was there before the first word formed, before you knew your name. A real moment of stillness that feels less like absence and more like arrival. Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? There's a detail about newborn babies that most people don't know. Their bones are not fully hardened. They're genuinely physically soft in a way that an adult body simply isn't. The softness is what allows them to survive the difficult transition into the world. We harden as we grow. That's normal and necessary. You need a certain rigidity to function, to hold a job, to hold your ground. But somewhere along the way, for most of us, the hardening goes further than it needs to, past the structural and into the psychological. The spine becomes the opinion. The jaw becomes the argument you refuse to let go. The shoulders carry the tightness of years of defended positions. You can usually see it in people who've been in authority for a long time. There's a particular quality of rigidity, of someone who's been right for so long that their whole body seems to have organized itself around not yielding. And there's something a little lonely about that, because softness is actually what allows contact. It's what allows you to be touched. The question isn't whether to harden, it's whether to harden beyond what the situation requires, and whether, when the situation passes, you know how to soften again. Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? This might be the most radical question in the verse. He's asking whether you can see what's actually there. Most of us, most of the time, don't see what's there. We see what we anticipate. Psychologists call this a perpetual set. It's the habit of seeing what we already expected to see. You walk into a conversation already knowing how it's going to go. The brain does this because it has to sort too much information quickly. That's not a flaw, that's engineering. But it's a real cost to that. The brain that is too good at pattern matching stops seeing the person in front of it. It sees a confirmation of what it already believed. When you strip away the label and the history and just receive, even briefly, there's something almost shocking about it. The light on the wall that you've passed 1,000 times. The face of someone you love, suddenly without the comfortable veil of familiarity. It can feel like the world just got more real. And that's what he means by the light. Just what's actually there before the mind narrates it. Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? This one hits differently if you've been in a position of authority or been parented. Early in my career, I had a manager who was incredibly effective, not because she had all the answers, but because of the quality of attention she brought. When you came to her with a problem, she wouldn't immediately try to fix it. She would ask careful questions. She would listen in a way that made you feel like your thinking was worth something. I left almost every conversation with her feeling more capable than when I walked in. Most leadership does the opposite. The help comes with a shape, and the shape is the leader's preference. And the person being helped gets smaller. The hardest thing about loving someone is accepting that your vision of what's good for them might not be what they need. Imposing your will, even with the best intentions, is a way of saying, my understanding of you is more important than your discovery of yourself. Without imposing your will, it's the hardest kind of love. The kind that trusts the other person enough to stay in the question rather than just rushing to the answer. Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? This one sounds like stepping down, like giving up. It isn't. There's a specific kind of suffering that comes from the refusal to let things unfold. You're holding on to a situation so tightly that you can't even tell anymore whether you're helping or just managing your own anxiety. The health thing, the relationship thing, the project that matters too much, we grip those as if the intensity of our attention could bend the outcome towards us. But there's a line between engaged effort and white-knuckled control. On the other side of that line, the harder you grip, the less clearly you can see. The worse your decisions, the harder your grip. Letting events take their course isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing what you can do, clearly and with full presence, and then releasing your attachment to the outcome. Doing the work and then opening your hand. Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? I've been circling this one for days. Step back from your own mind, not to exit it, but just to create some space between you and the machine generating your thoughts and reactions. There's something that took me a long time to really understand. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that can notice your thoughts. A thought arises, anger, worry, and most of the time, we are inside it before we even know it arrived. We experience it as reality. But sometimes, you catch it a step earlier. You watch the anger arise. You see the judgment form. And in the gap, that small space between the event and the reaction, choice is possible. And then Lao Tzu gives you the answer to all the questions together. Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no possessions, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. These phrases are describing the same person. Each one is about doing something that matters, really doing it, and then releasing any claim to the outcome. Giving birth and nourishing, you bring something into the world, a child, a project, a community, and then you let it be what it needs to be. Having without possessing and acting with no expectations, these are rooted in the same quiet non-attachment. You receive what comes your way without closing your fist around it. You do the work, you show up, and then you resist the bargain of the ego that wants to make something of it. I did this, therefore I am owed that. You let the acting be enough. Leading and not trying to control. You guide, you model, you care deeply, and you release your grip on the mechanism. You trust that the river knows where it's going. The supreme virtue, this is what it looks like. Not some elevated spiritual state where you float above ordinary human mess, just fully engaged, fully present, and fully released from the need to control the result. I want to leave you with the question Lao Tzu asked us today. Not a checklist, but a place to sit. Can you coax your mind home? Can you allow yourself to remain soft, seeing the world exactly as it is? And can you love, lead, and act with your whole heart while keeping your hands open to the outcome? You don't have to answer yes. The honest sitting with them is the practice. And maybe the willingness to stay in the question itself is a kind of answer. Thank you for spending a few quiet minutes here. This has been the Coffee Buzz Podcast.